My name is Jason, JROCK Houston, and we're talking tonight with two members of LA-based Foo Fighters tribute band called Foo Crew. And tonight we're speaking with the lead singer Lou and the lead guitarist Jeff. How you guys doing tonight?
Great. How you doing, man? Good. How's it going out there?
Doing great. Now, you guys are a relatively new band. Have you played out live yet?
Yeah, we have. We've been playing since about September live. Jeff and I have been playing around with different ideas for cover tribute bands for a while, but with our current group, yeah, we've been playing about 6 months live.
And let me ask, because I'm sure, like a lot of musicians, you guys did the original. You played, your own original music for, several years. So, when you first got the idea to put together a tribute band, did you have any reservations about doing so?
I played with an original band called Another Dying Breed for about 6 years, and once we kind of disbanded, I started talking to Jeff. We actually bartend together, and I found out that he was a musician and the same type of music too.
Oh, okay.
And we kind of started around the idea with general cover band, but then we thought, you know what, let's focus it in more and maybe, Foo Fighters was kind of in our wheelhouse. And, at first, neither of us have ever played in an actual tribute band before, but, we sort of give it a try.
Yeah, and, it's kind of amazing because there are a lot of Foo Fighter tribute bands popping up all over the place. I've seen quite a few.
We just noticed that, actually. We were looking it up online. There's about 2 or 3 in San Diego and a couple more here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but I definitely think there's room for everybody. And so how did you guys first get into the music of Foo Fighters?
Well, I've always been into them since the first album, and throughout the years, their sound kind of changed a little bit. They seem to mature, but what's so great about them is they seem to be one of the last, true rock bands that are still putting out.
Yeah.
They're pretty high-selling albums, and they kind of fit in everywhere. They have their mellow side, their really heavy side, and I just think I've always really liked that about them.
Yeah, I mean,
he actually asked me, hey man, do you think it'd be a good idea? Why don't we just do Foo Fighters? And I was like, well, I'm gonna have to cover some of their songs. I really didn't know who they were. I knew who they were, but I didn't really know their songs right offhand. So once he told me who they were, I was like, oh, that's who plays that song. Yeah, man, that's cool. Because we're already playing a lot of Metallica, Megadeth, something on the harder side.
Uh-huh.
So when he said Foo Fighters, I was like, okay, so they rock pretty good, and I think it'd be a good idea to play them since it's so popular. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, I think the smart thing about doing the Foo Fighters for you guys is, like you're saying, it's one of those bands where there's a little something for everybody, and they're so popular that they're pretty well loved, and so people come to your shows. They kind of have an expectation of what they're going to get, or what type of songs they're going to hear when they come see you guys play.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're in for, and they come out, and you can see that they're having a great time. They're jumping up and down and dancing on the dance floor and singing along to some of the songs. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and now let me ask you, going back to when you guys first heard the Foo Fighters for the very first time, how surprised were you to find out that the guy doing the singing and fronting the band was a drummer from Nirvana?
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing This Is the Call on the radio.
Yeah.
And then after the song ended, they said that the singer was, and guitar player was Dave Grohl. I'm like, what? I knew he did background vocals in Nirvana and that he's an awesome drummer. But, once I heard that and then realized that whole first album is just him, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, You guys said that you know each other from working together, doing bartending and stuff. But I was wondering, how did you find the other members of a band? Were they friends that you also had, or or these people that you had come down and audition?
Well, that's a funny story because we first met bartending, and then we were saying, well, we gotta have a good drummer. So it just so happened that we had another friend that worked with that was a drummer, and he started out with it, and we were grooving and playing along, and then it ended up he had to move to Texas, and he never came back. That's just about a drummer in a case. So then we just started auditioning on radio. And then we actually had another drummer. We hired another drummer and then another bassist. And they got along really, really well. And we started grouping. We booked our first gig and was going for it. And then the drummer actually had some personal issues and wasn't going to be able to make it. So then the bass player was really good friends with the drummer. So then, he said, well, if he's not playing, I'm off. So they were history. So then we had to go back and re-audition, which wasn't really hard because there's a lot of people trying to get into the band. Well, thank God, because you have to have, a lot of time rehearsing people.
Uh-huh.
And then we had a first rehearsal for a bass player, and I had already told Lou a long time ago, we need a chick bass player.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny because the first person who walked in was this girl, Asian girl. She's so cute, and I knew right away we had her. I didn't even care if she could play the bass. I was like, she's the one for us. But then luckily we figured out soon enough that she actually could. Yeah, and she could play it. So yeah, even better. So and then she did with a drummer, and that drummer came on, and he was really excellent drummer. But unfortunately, that drummer was already in a lot of other different projects, and wasn't able to spend his time at the sheet to rehearse for this Foo Fighters tribute. So we started auditioning another drummer, and we had 3 drummers, all 3 of them really, really incredible drummers. They would have to be to pull off big little stuff.
Yeah.
And so we auditioned these 3, and we had it down to 2 people, and then we had them both. We couldn't figure out which one was most going to be good. So we invited them both back to play, and then one of them didn't show up to get something going on. I forgot what. So there you have it. We had our drummer.
Wow. And so when you guys first started rehearsing, once you got the band together, did it take you a long time to learn how to play these songs?
There was a learning curve to it, definitely. We started off with like the biggest hits, Everlong, Monkey Wrench, and the thing that we had to learn, I think a pretty big portion of was which guitar parts we were playing.
Uh-huh.
Especially now with now that they have 3 members in the band, it gets a little complicated to figure out what parts they're playing and what parts, with me singing and playing would work out the best. And but I know there's some points where Dave plays a little lead guitar here and there, but Jeff's just such an awesome lead guitar player. I'm like, dude, have at it. So there was a learning curve to it, but once we started getting into the groove, and especially with Clarissa and Jeff Dubray, the drummer, they're huge Foo Fighters fans.
Wow.
And huge, even more than we were. They came in going up. They were like full of knowledge on this whole band, which helped me out. Yeah. I probably had the hardest time because I was having to pick up all the difficult stuff, and not knowing some of the songs. So, but they told me that it gets a lot easier once you learn a few songs. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, and a lot of these tribute bands, they like to dress up the part and try to look like the original guys. Did you guys ever toy around with that idea, or did you kind of just always wanted to do like what you're doing?
Well, yeah, there is a little back and forth with that hard with Dave. What's funny is because Dave's had his current look, which everyone knows, but that's been about 10 years.
Yeah.
When you go back, he's had so many different looks, especially around the color of the shape era in the 90s. He had like super short hair. Certain things, like, there's not much we can do about it with the bass with Nate. Because
yeah.
With a girl in the band,
yeah.
It makes it a little hard. But that's something that we think about. But what's funny is, though, other than Dave and maybe Taylor, they're not really the most recognizable band in the world, so it's not like, Motley Crue or a Kiss tribute band, which, they all have really specific looks.
I mean, the Foo Fighters is one of those bands where, like you were kind of saying earlier, where they're very popular and probably, like, I can't name really too many songs off the top of my head, but I know I've heard a million Foo Fighter songs playing on the radio, every day.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, when we started telling some of the guys we work with that we were in Foo Fighters tribute, they're like, "Oh, really?" And then you start kind of playing them some of the stuff, and they're like, "I didn't know that was Foo Fighters. I didn't know that was Foo Fighters." But they have like over 20 hits that I think most people would recognize, even if they didn't know it was them.
Yeah. I mean, when you like hear a lick or something, oh yeah, I heard that song before. It's that kind of thing. Now, how hard is it for you guys to come up with a set list? I mean, obviously you got put in, the big hits that everybody wants to hear, but is it difficult? Like, do you ever throw in like a rare B-side or something, or a tune that's not as well known?
Yeah, definitely. Now we're starting to build our set list a lot. We have probably over 2 hours worth now, and at a certain point you really do have to start throwing in those B-sides, and that's kind of part of the fun, is that we all listen to it. We all have our own favorite B-sides.
Yeah.
And there's a couple songs that we looked on setlist.fm where the Foo Fighters may have only played a song once before.
Wow.
It's kind of cool to throw those in there and, kind of play our favorites. Yeah, we each all take turns and pick, songs, like the drummer will pick one, and then, Clarence, the bass player, will pick one, and then, we take turns, whatever song you like to play,
Yeah.
That's usually how we pick the songs. Everybody's got their favorites, and we take turns picking them. Yeah, there's definitely certain ones they have to play all the time, like My Hero and Everlong. And, but what's cool about Foo Fighters, too, like I mentioned, there's so many different sides to them. So sometimes if we're playing a show that may have a larger female audience, there's like, just by changing a few songs, you can kind of make it a little more mellower and poppy. But if you have like a crowd that really wants to rock, we can throw in like White Limo and like some of their heavier songs. So it's kind of fun being able to do that. Yeah, we try to gear this towards our audience or wherever we're playing.
Yeah, and I was curious if you guys had a chance to hear the new album that they recently released.
Oh yeah, we're actually playing like 3 songs off of it. Yeah, a couple of the songs. One of the cool things we do too with a lot of B-sides, but also with some of the newer stuff, is we've based in medley. So people may not be completely familiar with like a couple of the songs on the new album, but some people are. So, we'll start with like one part of one song and then end it with a really cool part of another one.
Yeah, I mean,
but we love the new album.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I seen an interview he did recently talking about when they were recording it. I guess he recorded in different studios, different all around all around the United States, in different studios in different parts of the world. He wrote different songs. That's kind of a unique way of creating an album.
Yeah, I mean, we really our first show together was late last year, and we kind of knew when the album was coming out, when the single was coming
Uh-huh.
We really wanted to kind of tie in together what the Foo Fighters were doing at that time.
Now, when you guys do shows, I was curious. Do you typically, do shows with other tribute bands? Do you do your your own headlining shows, or do you open for national acts?
We try to, because the people that come out to the tribute want to see tribute bands that night, So it's just a better audience, because if you're a cover band and you're playing in the middle of two original bands, it's not as good as say, for instance, somebody's coming out looking to hear covers, different style of bands, different cover bands.
Yeah.
As opposed to just original.
Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing about doing Foo Fighters is I'd imagine you guys would be able to kind of fit in with a lot of the tribute bands out there. I mean, you could probably fit in with like a Led Zeppelin, even a Deep Purple, Motley Crue.
Yeah, we played with Led Zeppelin. We played with two different Led Zeppelin ones, actually, and AC/DC. But then, with Foo Fighters, you can also kind of blend with a lot of the 90s
alternative
type bands,
yeah.
Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots and things like that. So that's what's really cool about them, is that they kind of fit into a bunch of different.
And the cool thing about that is I've actually talked to some of these guys that there's a couple of Stone Temple Pilots tributes popping up now around the LA area, and there's one from Long Beach, I think. It's a Smashing Pumpkins tribute. So you got a lot of these 90s bands, and I think I've seen a couple even Soundgarden bands starting to pop up.
Oh, yeah, we're actually good friends with this Stone Temple Pilot band, and we're trying to get both with them.
Oh, that would be a great show.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. We're trying to meet other bands that play the same type of music along the same lines to get to be friends with them, jam with them, and hang out with them. The other night, we're in Long Beach playing at JROCK Houston. We played with Pat Benatar's tribute. So,
oh, really? Wow.
We're just, I don't know, it's a new territory for us, and we're trying to, meet all these different bands. Led Zeppelin, the AC/DC. Yeah, they're all cool.
And now let me ask you, being that you guys had done the original music scene before, when you since you've been doing the Foo Crew, have you been surprised at all the love there is for these tribute acts out there, and that people come to all these shows and just love it?
Oh yeah, as an original band, it's definitely a lot trickier, because you have to get your own music out to people. They don't know it, so if they're coming to a show, they're either going to dig it or they won't, but they're not really familiar with it.
Yeah.
With the tribute bands, I went to see one of the Guns N' Roses ones before at the Whiskey,
Uh-huh.
and after a few drinks, you just put yourself in the mind space that you're there in the '80s at the Whiskey where they actually played.
Yeah.
You just kind of, it's fun. You know what you're in for. You've heard these songs a million times, and you love it, and you may not be able to go see, Foo Fighters or Guns N' Roses. They don't play out as often as, we wish they could, but, with something like this, you can hear all the great songs, and some of the songs that the actual bands don't even play live.
Yeah, I mean, you make a very good point there. I mean, like you're saying, somebody maybe can't go see the real Foo Fighters, pay $200 to get into or whatever. They could go see you guys, and you might be the next best thing, And you make a very good point, because I seen a Guns N' Roses tribute in Hollywood. They're called Hollywood Rose, and I swear, the first time I seen these guys, the guy looks dead on like Axl Rose. And I had to pinch myself for a minute, because the rest of the band looked the part. They sounded like Guns N' Roses from 1987. I swore I was at a Guns N' Roses show. They were that good, and that's what a lot of these tribute bands do for the audience. And I mean, that's probably the closest we're ever going to get to seeing Slash and Axl on stage again, if you know what I mean. So that's a wonderful thing about these tribute bands, and I think even a band like Foo Crew, if you guys put on that kind of show, people are gonna be coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about putting it all out there, as much energy as you can with these songs that the crowd knows and loves. And the Foo Fighters are on tour right now and playing out a lot. They're playing a couple shows
And so let me ask you: do you guys have a manager, or do you pretty much handle all the business for the band as far as booking the shows and that?
Well, I actually have a couple of managers. They're working in Las Vegas right now. So, we're kind of on hold for Las Vegas because we got to do, we got to finish up our contracts and our tours here in Los Angeles. So, we don't have any managers per se here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But I do have my managers in Vegas that are ready to jump on board just as soon as, we're all ready after the summer. So.
Yeah, and I was reading that on your Facebook page that your plan is to kind of hit the LA and the Las Vegas circuit. I was curious, any specific reasons you're concentrating on just those two areas, or is the plan, would you like to take it to other parts of the United States if you could, get shows outside of
definitely. We're most from the East Coast. Liz from Jersey, and I'm from Nashville.
Wow.
So we eventually want to take it back to our roots and definitely play the East Coast. And who knows, we have a lot of friends over in Europe, Germany, Switzerland, out there in those areas that we want to hit out there too. So we're actually looking at booking some dates in Singapore, Malaysia, over in China.
Wow.
Got some connections over there. So we're still trying to put that in the works. So, anything's possible.
I love that you have that attitude. Anything's possible because it really is. I mean, if I just look at a band like the Iron Maidens, they're an all-female Iron Maiden tribute. They've been out here since the early '90s, and they've taken their band all over the world. I mean, Germany, Mexico, just I think even Japan, like you said, and parts of Asia. They've been all over the place. And so again, if your band's that good, you do have a potential to take it worldwide.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing about the tribute scene to me is, like you're saying, if you're an original band, a lot of times it's a lot harder to make it, and it takes a lot longer to maybe have your first hit, and a lot of the bands, are competing with one another. But what I love about the tribute scene is everybody, it seems to be like a fraternity. Everybody in all the tribute bands, eventually they get to know one another, become friends, and it's like, hey, we need a band to open our show. You guys want to open our show next week? And that's the one thing I really love about the tribute scene.
Oh, yeah, I've made friends with another couple of bands that I say, hey, we're playing over here. You want to come play with us? And they're like, yeah, and vice versa. They say, hey, we're playing at, this location, and they need another band. Would you like to come out? Yeah, that's how it all works. And it all ties in nicely, and you play with people that you want to play with and have a good time, and everybody having a good time with you. Yeah, and it's a lot easier that way than with original bands because you want to kind of fit the night perfectly. So it's not like, I played some shows with my original band where we were like a hard rock kind of band, and they would have some band that's like almost like a jazz band, and so when you're doing the tributes, you know what you're getting into, and you're becoming friends with a lot of the same bands who are the same type of music you were into.
Yeah.
So it is a lot tighter, I think, that's key.
And so how did that? You said you guys played Long Beach the other night with the Pat Benatar tribute. How did that show go?
It's good. It's a great venue. It has a lot of potential. That was our first time there, and we love the spot.
Yeah, cause I gotta tell you, I about a month or so ago, I seen I went to a tribute night they had there, and it's a great little club. I think. I mean, I think they're starting to really just get a lot of good acts in there. I seen a Whitesnake tribute that played their first show there called Burn, and they're one of the better new tribute bands out there. So
it's a great place for it. They have a really nice stage. They got sound guys, all the lighting. I mean, it's a perfect setup for band. They could probably have a few more seats, but I mean,
Yeah.
It's a great venue, yeah. And that's a cool thing is finding out more of these venues that are really open to the tribute bands. Palladino's is in the Valley. I mean, that's one of the main ones. When I first moved to LA, I found that out. If you want to go see a good tribute band, someone that you like is going to be playing Palladino's.
Yeah, and I know a lot of House of Blues. The one in Anaheim, I know, does it. They have a tribute night every so often. That's a great thing to do. And speaking of the PCH Club down here in Long Beach that you guys played at last week, there's going to be a great. It's a new band called Project UFO. It's a UFO tribute. I seen them play once down here in Long Beach before. They're going to be playing there April 4th. And the great thing about that is I can't think of any other UFO tributes out here in Southern California, but I seen them play once and they're just they're over the top.
Yeah, wow.
And
I've heard of them. I get like some Facebook things about them, and it is funny when you see some of these tributes of there's a ton of AC/DC or Led Zeppelin tributes and all kind of focused on a different thing, but when you see the bands that don't have as many tributes, but there's an audience for all these bands, which is just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a cool thing about what you guys are doing too, because like you're saying, you make there are a couple Foo Fighter tributes starting to pop up, but like you said, how many AC/DC tributes, how many more Led Zeppelin tributes do we need? I say there's room for everybody, but like anything, the ones that really got the talent, the cream kind of rises to the top, and the ones that don't, they fall by the wayside. But that's the cool thing about what you guys are doing is there's not a whole lot of Foo Fighter tribute bands, so there's and you're going to fill that demand, so to speak. People are going to come to your shows, and so I think that's a smart thing on your guys' part is paying tribute to a band that there's not millions of other tribute bands out there too.
Yeah, we were really happy about that when we first started looking into it, and kind of looking out there and seeing what not really our competition is, because there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
When we first started, there wasn't any Foo Fighter tributes out there.
Yeah.
Around here, we didn't see it. I think we saw some overseas. We got East Coast.
Yeah.
We didn't really see any Foo Fighters that were playing in Los Angeles or near us.
Yeah.
So I thought, man, that's a great idea. We'll be the only ones on the West Coast. But then, once we got started, here we see 2, 3 more popping up. But
yeah, I mean. It sounds funny to say this to you guys, but like you'd be amazed. The longer you do a tribute thing. I mean, take a band like Led Zeppelin, the Atomic Punks, Iron Maidens we were talking about earlier. These are bands that have been doing it since for early '90s, and they're almost these bands. They're tribute bands, but they're almost as well known as a band, say like Van Halen, the Foo Fighters. The real deal. They're as famous as the bands they're paying tribute to because they've made a reputation. They've been doing it that long. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, especially Led Zeppelin. I mean, I've heard about them forever, and the actual Led Zeppelin, the real Led Zeppelin is never going to happen again. So that's what's really cool about that. You can catch that experience and kind of that moment in time. That if you weren't around in the '70s, you can actually kind of experience. So that's pretty cool.
And and the cool thing about Led Zeppelin, I actually had an opportunity to talk with the singer Swan, and he was telling me that when Led Zeppelin, Jason Bonham, they recorded that last live CD they did, Celebration Day, that he got a personal invite from Robert Plant and the rest of the band to bring him and the rest of Led Zeppelin to London or wherever that they shot that show, and they got to sit backstage and see it from a backstage area.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, it's
looking for Dave to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave lives out here, so
yeah.
Any of the Foo Fighters want to come show up at our show, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. I mean, I heard a couple weeks ago when the Foo Fighters played out here. I think David Lee Roth and Paul Stanley popped up and they played with them. So that you never know. And you'd be amazed. A lot of these guys that you guys are paying tribute to, tribute bands are paying tribute to, they're aware of the tribute bands. And I've heard like where Michael Anthony and even David Lee Roth have gone down and they've jumped on stage with Atomic Punks and a couple of these other bands. So you just never know.
Yeah, we look forward to it.
Yeah.
It could happen. People playing each other's right down here, not too far from us, not far from where we were heard. So. I mean, it's really possible. Our bass player, Clarissa, sees Dave at the flea market all the time.
Yeah. Have you guys ever looked at trying to get into play the Santa Fe Springs Swami, they got all the tribute bands playing there almost every weekend.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we just started looking into that recently. I noticed that, you know, and once you start like getting on Facebook and getting in some of these tribute groups, it really is a scene, and I've been seeing a lot about that. So we're definitely looking to get in there.
Yeah, because I got the best thing I can tell you guys is to is to keep on your Facebook page and everything, and just get the word out about the band, because honestly, the more you're on there, like I actually interviewed the girl from a Pat Benatar tribute that you guys played with the other night, and
Cool.
and the thing is, I guess she's been doing it for a couple, for about a year and a half now. But like I was telling her, I said, I happened to come across her Facebook page, but I never, and I'm always hearing about all these other tribute bands doing shows and stuff. I never heard of her band until just the other day. I accidentally came across her Facebook page. But that's really the trick, is the more you guys advertise your shows and stay in touch with the fans on Facebook, it's just going to grow for you.
We're pretty excited about it, because the more shows we do, the more people that are coming out to shows. So it's a matter of time.
Well, Jeff and Lou, it's been great talking. I could talk to you all night, but I know you guys are busy. But I want to thank you for taking time to do this. And the interview will be going up in about a week or so. I'll let you know the minute it goes up, so everybody can give it a listen. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we end the interview?
I don't think so. It's good talking to you, though. Yeah, we're just maybe in April 25th, we're playing actually 2 sets at Trip in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay.
And, if anyone wants to check it out or check us out, we're FooCrewBand.com.
Okay, well, we'll definitely check that out. And I promise, one day when you guys play a show near where I'm at, I'll come and catch you live. It's been great talking to you again, and take care, my friends. Bye-bye.
Take care.